the agenda is displayed for you. The fixes and improvements in 5.20 continue forward. The documentation has been updated as of August 28th, and still isn't completely done. I'll show you that in a minute when we look at the release notes. The links for the release notes are current. I've tested all of them and they all work. If I were to mention, or if I were to identify one that has changed the most, I would probably say that it's still the user manual, but there are several significant changes in the discovery layer, customization guide as well. So if you haven't had a chance to look at them yet, I would encourage you to do so. Let's take a look first at the release notes. The meeting that we had earlier in August had been updated for version 5.19.20, and now we are up to 5.21. So let me just scroll through these so that you can see what the newest pieces are. Okay. The first one is information about the linking to social media accounts. And this one, I'm not sure what they did for this last, but I'm thinking that it's probably something to do with the updated information about the social login, which is delivered as off. I think before it had been delivered as on, and that was causing some consternation among some sites. Okay, and let's wait here a minute while it's loading the next page. Okay, let me skip forward and skip to the demonstration that I have planned for today. The last time we met, I showed you a little bit about the offline circulation page that had been slightly updated. It unfortunately had a bug that prevented it from working at all. And I'd like to show you the difference that exists as of today. So I'm logged into the Waldo Sandbox, and when I go to the circulation page, there is, as I had pointed out before, the offline circulation link on the circulation page. When you click on this link, the software is going to check to see if there is an offline circ extension that has been created for Firefox. At the moment, the extension only works with Firefox. They are working on a Chrome extension, but the only one that's available right now is Firefox. The program doesn't detect the offline circ extension. And to show you the whole process, you just click on Get Extension. There will be a brief description that shows up. And what we'll just do is click on Add to Firefox. Okay. There is a permission that it requires, so we're going to click on OK. OK. And even though that happened very quickly, I want to point out that there is one thing that did happen in my my bar up here, and that is that the Bibliovation logo now appears as a resident on my taskbar. So that is an important thing to look for after you have loaded the extension. Since this is now there, I'm going to click out of this screen, and I'm going to go back to circulation. And now the message says that it's detecting the extension. And it says if it's installed, you must reload the application. It isn't detecting it, but I know that I have loaded it. So I'm going to click on reload. And once again, come back to the offline circulation page. Okay, the next thing that I shouldn't have to restart Firefox. I had tested this earlier this week and then had deleted the extension, but the extension supposedly is still here. There, this is what is supposed to happen. Once the system, once this logo appears up here in our bar, if we know that the system is down, it's going to tell me that the server connection is disconnected. It's detect when the system is not there. So now that I am in the offline circ mode, I'm going to key in the patron barcode. And as soon as I get the patron barcode in, it's going to ask me for an item barcode. So I'm just going to key in, actually just click on some of the items that are here. And you'll notice that as I add more items, it displays them as I enter them into the system, and it keeps track of how many patrons and how many items. So if I were to say that I'm done with this one, I can then go on to another patron. And I'm going to start at the top this time. Now you'll notice that the barcodes, let me not use this one again. Okay, so now I've got two patrons, and you'll notice that the queued checkouts just keeps identifying each checkout. The top line is always the most current one that you've entered in. So it is something. That little boop noise is good. You can turn it off if it annoys you, but I like leaving it on. I'm going to do one more checkout here. And I'm going to say now that I'm done. Okay, if the system had been offline and we knew that we were now back up again, when we go to our offline circulation page again, it's going to detect the extension. Well, it did not detect the extension. You'll notice that up in our little icon on our bar here, it tells me that there are 5 transactions that we have to upload. Okay, now it says server connection testing. Okay, this isn't acting the same way because I deleted the extension and then tried to install it again. But what it is supposed to do is when you come back, okay, so now it detected it, configured it, and did some offline magic here. But it will identify how many patrons have checkouts and how many total checkouts are waiting to be transmitted to the system. Once the system is back up, you can then follow on by clicking Import Offline Checkouts. It will give you messages saying that the offline circulation and upload has been completed, that there are 5 successful checkouts, and there's also another button here that says you can click on Done, Clear All. We also have the option to download the successful checkout. So if you click on the download the successful checkouts, you can save that to a file so that you can go back and recheck the circulation transactions to make sure that they were okay. I'm not going to download this right now. I'm just going to cancel out of it. And the final step in this process is once you've uploaded the transactions again, you don't want to keep them in your offline storage area, so you want to click on Done, Clear All, and it will reset itself again back to 0 and 0. Now, the system, the way that I understand that this is to work is that if it detects that you are, that the server connection has been disrupted, the way that you initiate the process, if you know that it's disrupted, you just have to go to the offline circulation page and it will automatically start. The only thing that the offline circulation program does is check out. It doesn't do any check-in, so the only thing that you'll ever have collected at this point with this first version of this new offline circ is checkouts. This would have been useful for everyone last week, but I know that this will be useful in the future as well. So that is something that you can play around with in your sandbox. And if you run into something else, you can certainly you can certainly do so.
Hi, Becky.
Hi, go ahead.
So when you upload this stuff, it does it sequentially. So if I had a book that was checked out to one patron, and then it was returned by that patron, and then I checked it out to someone else, say like a reserve, it's going to load this sequential by time that it was done. So something that was checked out to someone else is going to get checked in when it's checked out to the next person. I'm guessing. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So you can't necessarily.
All of the barcodes that displayed when I entered into that checkout box were ones that were checked out to someone else.
Oh, cool.
So if I had actually downloaded that file, you would see what the current patron was, which was different when I started.
Yeah. All right, cool. Thank you.
So, until we actually have a system down where I can actually test it against the down system, I'm still hoping that this is going to work out well, but it does work pretty slick. I was glad to see that it's something that's resident on your address bar, whatever that area is called. And it's pretty easy. If you click on this, I guess when you click on this, you go directly into the offline circ. Let me try this again. Yes. And if we unclick it, well, it gave me an error, but because I've got this open multiple times here, probably is a little bit confused at this point. But that, I'm glad that it's there. It's in the sandbox now. And if I were to guess, I would say this is probably the feature that will encourage people to upgrade to version 5.20 more quickly than perhaps they might have in some other time. The version 5.20 is continually being upgraded and processed. Let me see if my release notes are working now. Yes, okay, there they are. Let me click on here. Okay. Let me go back up to the top of the document to make sure I don't miss any of these. Okay. Okay, here we are where we were before. Okay, we already looked at this one. Let me go to the next one. And the next one is actually offline circ. This is a new feature, and you just saw that, so we can go on by that. I should note before I go here that this has been updated in the user manual. This is documented, so you can go and read about the process itself. The document itself does not talk about deleting the extension like I did, and doesn't therefore talk about all of the little things that we ran into today. The first time that I installed the extension and went through the process, it worked perfectly. So the little glitches that you saw today is because I did something that I shouldn't have done. Okay, the next thing you need to be aware of, this is something that is a result of Code Fusion. This is something that had been done for South Central in their old code line. And it is a conversion routine that will now allow you to search for ISBN by using either the ISBN 10 or the 13 field entries. And even if one or the other one isn't present, I did do testing on this, and it was really kind of neat to be able to type in a 10-digit ISBN, and it was automatically translated into a 13-digit search. So this works both ways. If you type in a 13-digit ISBN, if that 13-digit isn't in your record, it will also convert that into an ISBN 10, and it will find the record for you. That's something that probably isn't going to be all that useful for your patrons when they search, but it certainly will be for the library staff. Okay, there has been an update to the facets, and I haven't done any testing on this. This last point release to the sandbox was made earlier this week, and I haven't had a chance to look at absolutely everything. I was mostly fascinated with the offline circulation, but this is something that you need to be aware of, that there is a process. It says the change for this one is that it eliminates a problem with the incomplete dates with the 19 UUs. So that's something that I would suggest that you take a look at. I will be testing it. If I find anything wrong about it, I will definitely enter a message in the support center. Okay, there's a enhancement in the discovery layer. If an item is not available for renewal, the discovery layer is going to suppress the renewal button so that your patron will not be prompted to think that they can renew an item if they can't. Previously, when you tried to renew something and it wasn't available for renewal, it still gave you the button, let you try to do the renewal. But right now, it does detect whether or not that item can be renewed. And another feature that was added earlier allows you to place multiple renewals. I'm sorry, I was thinking of something different. The system will now allow multiple renewals on the same day. So if you are, if someone has checked out a reserve item for 2 hours, it will allow you to renew if you have your policy set up so that there are multiple renewals on a 2-hour reserve. It will allow that item to be renewed multiple times in the day. This next one is also for those of you who use serials, an important one to look at. The serials module itself originally searched only in the serial subscriptions for the serial titles. It now has been changed so that it's going to search the solar title index. So it's going to be searching by the bib record, or it's going to search for the actual bib record, not just the subscription record. So you need to be aware of that. I did notice in some of the support tickets about serials that what they were finding is that records were not appearing in the solar index. It turns out that the database needed to be re-indexed for all of the changes, for all of the titles to be reflected in the title index so that they could then be found in this by going into the serials module. The display also will show more than just the 245 subfield A. So you can see that we have not only A, but B and P and H, so that you'll be able to see more title information. Again, I would strongly encourage you to go into your sandbox, and if you're using serials, be sure that you test this. I am not sure if LibLime has in fact gone in and re-indexed all of the sandboxes. My guess would be probably not. But if you are working with this and something that you expect to find in the indexes doesn't show up, I would suggest reporting that in a support center ticket and asking to have your database re-indexed so that you can more accurately do some testing in the serials module. Okay, our next one is the next line below. And the serials module uses the acquisitions vendor table, which we've gone over before earlier this year. One thing that that occurs in some libraries is that they will use the serials module without using the acquisitions module. And what they've recently done is made sure that if you do not have acquisitions implemented, you can still use the vendors table in order to identify your serials vendors so that you can use the claiming functionality in serials. That's done completely through the serials module, even though it's stored in acquisitions. Okay, There's been some issues with holds that South Central has reported, and some of the fixes have caused a little bit of problems on the the LAK that we're using. So this was one of them about the note fields. This one has been fixed. It was something that Waldo Library reported. So this has been fixed. You can check it out and see how it works. The rest of all of these are all fixes at the end of the table, but I just wanted to scroll through these so that you could see what the fixes are that have been made. These have, as I said, these have just recently been added into the point release. The ones that I want to talk about, as this screen is displayed, you can see them, but the serials templates had problems with them, so those have been updated and renewed. The user manual in this case has been updated, and also there is a cron job that is supposed to predict the new issues, and it wasn't quite right, and it's working, so it is now working correctly. The shelf browser was not working, and that is something that now works. One thing I should mention too is that in the shelf browser, as you know, it will display the book jackets if there is a link to the book jacket itself. In the discovery layer, they have also done a modification of the book jackets. If there is no image for the book jacket, instead of the image with a book in it that displays with nothing else on it, they've changed that so that in that area that would be the book jacket, it will now have the author and the title of the item that is being added into the browser. So, so that looks a little bit different, and you'll need to be able to have some you'll need to know about it so that you'll be able to understand how to explain it to your students. There have been some changes with how authorized values are shown. It will display the description now instead of just the code. And that is good for your patrons because it means more to them to see the descriptions. If you did not add in a description in your authorized value, it will be blank. So if you find blanks where you expect to see something displayed, you definitely need to go into your authorized values, find the appropriate one, and add in a description. Let me see. And these others are, you know, you can read through them and identify what's, if there's something that affects your library, you can check it out. Okay, so that's all that we have in the release notes. So let me go back over to the agenda. The next thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit was about the mark import process, the delete option. That was something that a couple of meetings ago, I had tried to demonstrate and ran into problems. I did report that to PTFS, and even though I have not received notification of it, I have noticed that it is now working, although I haven't quite figured out how it's supposed to work. So let me just show you the results. Okay, I'm going to show you one that didn't work first. And in this case, when I think it was Jane who was doing this testing. It could have been Michelle, but I'm not 100% sure. What they were finding is that they ended up with a staged message on this. It said it did match, it did change the records. Let me go back one more. And on this attempt, you'll notice that it does say that the status is deleted. So I did do some checking on this. I discovered that when I click on the catalog record, it will link to the bibliographic record, and it does say that it has been deleted. I need to follow up on this one again, because when I switch to the discovery layer view, which would be what shows to your patron, it displays the item, and and this is something, Ben, that you can explain. There is one of the sections of the discovery layer JavaScript areas that is not working correctly. And Ben, let you talk about it, since it was put in there by your programmer.
It was. My apologies. We will take that out. This is actually how Jim discovered that the on-page load for bib details wasn't working. I'll let him know that now that we know that it's not working right, he can go ahead and take that out.
Maybe he should leave it there until they fix it.
That is entirely up to you. It's your code table, and I'm always a little embarrassed when we don't tell you about stuff. So.
That's okay. I looked at the discovery layer configuration and saw what it was, and there's a note in there. So I was aware of it. It's just I wanted to make sure that everyone knew that when they went to the bibliographic record, it's showing up and it's not supposed to show up. Now, it could be because I'm logged on as a super librarian, and that's why it's showing it for me. But normally this you should not see in the discovery layer, a deleted record. Those should be suppressed from the public. So that's something that I am going to report. That is, in my mind, I want it to be settled to know that it's not going to show up for somebody else. But I kind of like seeing those kinds of things, Ben. So if they're put in there, that's fine.
You're very kind. Thank you.
In terms of the Code Fusion Support Center list, let me pull this up. This is the Code Fusion list, and actually this is probably a good time to report on the Code Fusion meeting that was held last week, I believe. The participation in the meetings is shrinking. I think probably, or shrunk last time, I think probably due to vacations. And I can tell that it's getting close to the end of the testing, because the focus is now changing to I can't do X that I could used to do, to I don't like the way something appears on the screen, or something needs to be changed because it's not grammatically correct. And it is also evident in the kinds of things that are being reported as problems right now. Some of these, like the shelf browse cover images stuck things, the ones that are bugs that are listed here are things that are being worked on now. I don't have any estimate of when those are going to be available as fixes, but they do make a big difference. Since I put that list together, as you can see, there aren't that many issues that have been added. So I haven't updated the list. but if you are interested in seeing what some of these are, I can certainly update the list and put it out again. I think that the major functionality of everything is working well. There are still little things that I find every now and again that are kind of not working right. This one I do want to make you aware of, because this is something that may impact your decision to schedule an upgrade or not. I wanted to forgive an unpaid fee, and I did what I was supposed to do. And what I discovered in all of this is that waiving and forgiving fines isn't working at all. The only thing that I was able to do is pay a fine. And I know that in your libraries that there are times that if fines accumulate and there is a good reason for the patron not being able to return the item on time, that you are willing to waive or forgive the fines. So if that is something that you rely on a lot, you need to be aware that this is an issue. I did suggest a couple of things that they might want to do, but Jane's notice is that it's a problem and that she hopes it gets fixed soon. So I think that to Jane, this is probably an issue that needs to be done quickly as opposed to waiting until sometime later. But you might also want to test this in your sandbox to make sure that it is acting the same way for you, because sometimes things don't work the same way in everyone's sandboxes. Let me go back here. The production upgrades, Patrick is still asking that they be scheduled through the support center. He also asked me to let you know that there are a few libraries that are already on using version 5.20 in production. There are some new libraries, and this week, in fact, they did upgrade a lot of the federal government libraries that are using this software. So there are quite a few libraries that are already running on 5.20 in production. I know that it's a decision each library needs to make for itself as to when they are going to be interested in upgrading. I know that if school hasn't already started in your institutions, that it will soon start. And it probably is at the point right now where you won't want to do an upgrade until a little bit later in the year. So I'll just keep reminding everyone about upgrading your production schedule in the support center. I haven't had any indication from Patrick that there's going to be a deadline yet for when you have to be upgraded to 5.20 in order for the version to be closed off. I know that they are still working on quite a few little things that need to be fixed in the version. So when you're ready, schedule your update, your production upgrade, if for no other reason than to get the offline circ. I did change the enhancement list. I took out the 4 that had been already delivered, and I left the 4 that we haven't ordered yet. So that's my reminder to make sure I keep those updated. The recordings are on YouTube, just as a mention, and the links are in the chart here. And that's at the end of my agenda. Tracy would like to be made the presenter, so I'm going to go ahead and let her be the presenter. And Tracy, Oh, it says Tracy has left. Ben, do you know what Tracy wanted to show? Or
Uh,
Jennifer?
no, I wasn't aware that she was that she wanted to show anything. I know that I have clicked on the present button accidentally in the past. She's more competent than I am, so I'm not entirely sure that's what happened.
Okay. Okay. Well, she isn't there, so I mean, she left. So I'm just going
Oh,
to.
yeah. Jennifer indicates that Tracy wasn't actually looking to be a presenter.
Okay. 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 So that's all that I've got for this week. Hopefully, I'll hear some more from LibLine regarding the delete option in the MARC import process, because I think that for people who are trying to keep their electronic resource records updated, it will be useful for them. After we're done here, I'll get the recording update up on YouTube as soon as I can, and we will meet again on September 13th. And that's all I have, unless anyone else has anything else that they want to ask about or share with us. And if there's nothing else, we're done. Thank you all.